is the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. To learn more about Next Level Loan Officers, go to becomnl.com.
Hello, friends. Sean Zalmanoff here with my man, my partner, co-founder, Shane Kidwell. This is your Next Level Loan Officers podcast, the #1 podcast for loan officers, by loan officers. And you guys recently heard us talk about our 80-20. And, really, if you don't know where you're at, you can't figure out exactly where you're going. And so in the 80-20, when we talked about that, we had you track your time. We had you see what you were doing on a daily basis, break down how much you enjoy doing it, how much profit you got from that. So now you have a great list of activities that you're doing. Now what we really need to look at with those activities in something that we call our divide and conquer. By the way, we've got show notes for you. You can go onto whatever your favorite source is that you're listening to this, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, or some other fantastic podcasting platform, and download those straight from there. So with this divide and conquer, what you're going to be doing is looking at all of the activities that you do, kind of drawing a map. I do this one, I do this one, my loan partner does this one, my processor does this one, and nobody does this, and I really need to have that done, or don't even need to worry about this. Somebody else handles compliance for me. So that's a conversation that we're going to have today, so we can start talking about how you build your team, because I'm just letting you know, Shane has built an amazing team. Mine's not too bad itself. And you couldn't have two better guys on here today helping you and guide you through this process.
Sean, I love this conversation. Kellen and all of us have used the example of the car dealership. And it's a perfect analogy and visual into what should be done, what is done in pretty much every industry, but typically real estate and lending. And it's that, you go to the car dealer and you work with this sales rep, and he or she are walking you through the process. They're teaching about all the functionality of the vehicle. They have the good ones have this intimate knowledge of the engine, the mechanics, the warranty. And after an hour, you do a test drive and you stop and grab a cup of coffee. And you feel like you've got this relationship with the sales rep. And then you say, Sean, I'm ready to buy the Cadillac Escalade. And Sean says, congratulations, Shane. I'm going to hand you over to my fill in the blank, whatever that next person is. And you're kind of like, do you go, well, wait a minute. I thought, Sean was going to hold my hand through the entire process. He was going to do financing. He was going to do paperwork. He was going to do detail. The reality is that's absolutely not what happens. While Sean is handing off me to my next person in the process, whether that's finance, that's the paperwork person, he's going and getting another client, right? At that same time, that car that I'm now in love with is going to be getting detailed, getting cleaned, going through its 100-point inspection. An hour later, I walk out and maybe my sales rep comes back and hands me the keys. And so I think what's really important about this is we are not intended or built or designed to do everything in the process. When you see that loan officer is like, I'm up at 5, I am intimately involved in everything I do on my loan, that's typically not the person who has balance and who has growth potential or growth in actuality. And so the beauty of this divide and conquer thought process and philosophy is doing what's best use of time for you, figuring out what isn't the best use of time for you, but is impactful to the bottom line, and hiring or training or building systems and processes around all of those activities.
So as you saw when you tracked your 80-20, and again, the reason it's the 80-20, it's because 20% of the activities you do generate 80% of the income that you make. So those are the things that as you look on this divide and conquer, you need to go by, you need to star. That is my wheelhouse, my superpower, my strength of what I need to do on a daily and weekly basis to generate the engine, the revenue for our engine, the relationships, everything that it is to make a great salesperson. Because when you start to look at all the other things, the conversations with the underwriter, your processor, anything that has to go on with your corporate, anything with compliance, those aren't money-making activities. Those are incredibly vital, but for a salesperson, a waste of your time. So you've got to be doing those things very efficiently. And remember, like, so 20% of your activity is generating 80% of your income. If you double that 20% and you do 20% twice in a day, every day, you all of a sudden, when you look at this, what your dollar per hour is worth, if it's 100, if it's 200, if it's $800 an hour that you're worth when you're selling, that frees up, when you do that multiple times a day, a lot of cash for you to be able to hire and build out these positions. And, we're talking about this right now in a time where there's contraction in the market, where, everything that any loan officer that when you turn on Facebook is going to whine and complain about today. But this is a golden opportunity. Thank God above that you have this opportunity right now to be able to hone your business. We spent 2 years white knuckling, just getting by. You have a golden opportunity right now. Upgrade your team, build a team, build relationships, get in front of agents that were too busy or wouldn't give you the time of day, but will right now. And that's where you have to understand your wheelhouse and your superpower is. So as you're looking at building this team, I've got the single biggest piece of advice that I'm going to give you. Whatever you're doing, like, stop, pull over, write this down. That the people on your team can do more work than you think they can. You need to continue to give them work with the agreement that they needs to be the ones to cry uncle. They need to be the one to say, hey, no, I'm too busy. If you make that choice when you fill out your divide and conquer, when you do all of this, you're going to end up having a 16-hour day while they have a 3-hour day.
Yeah, Sean, this is a really important point that I want to emphasize. I was in the fire department for about a decade, and it would be silly if while you were fighting a fire, the battalion chief, the guy or gal who's in charge of the scene, AKA you, the loan officer running the team, it would be silly for that person to run around and pat every fireman on the back and be like, hey, bud, you good? You need help? You in trouble? Then run to the next guy. Hey, bud, you good? You need help? You in trouble? As highly skilled professionals, it was our job to recognize risk and communicate effectively with our team when there was something that we couldn't handle on our own. If you have team members where you have built and over-engineered a system of audits and checks and balances to catch errors that they're not bringing up, to catch when there's this issue with an agent that they're not raising the white flag on, you have the wrong team member. And the exciting thing about where we are today, the last couple of years, you could not find top talent. The exciting thing about right now is top talent is available at 70 cents, 80 cents on the dollar. And I think that people need to have a reset of their expectation of what they can find for staff and an expectation of what their staff will do. Now, what I'd love to do, Sean, because I know right now a lot of people are saying, okay, cool. Yeah, I get this. I shouldn't do everything. I shouldn't pull credit. I understand that. Where do I start? Right? Like, what are the activities that I start doing and what are the activities I stop doing? I think it's easier by just saying, hey, here's what you start with. And then you're going to find you don't have time to do these other things. And you'll quickly realize it's not a good use of your time. And so I'll just give you a few for me that are the non-negotiables that are my 20%. First and foremost, power conversations. Like, this is such a valuable use of my time. Now, for those of you who don't know and you're not inside the Next Level community, first and foremost, you should be. We are the premier community in the mortgage industry today, and we are all about bringing value. And one of the courses we talk about is this thought around having powerful conversations. These are your intake calls. These are your over-the-phone pre-quals that you're doing with people. The reality is this is $1,000 call. It's a phenomenal use of your time. You're vetting, you're setting expectations, you're molding these people so that they'll work effectively with your team. You're preparing them, you're navigating, you're sealing the deal, you're sharing rates, you're connecting with the real estate agent after the fact, sharing your notes. This 30-minute call is a phenomenal use of your time as a top producing LO.
So we gave you the script for the 80-20. We gave you the forms on how to fill that out. You're going to have identified on there exactly what needs to be done. Now, depending on your operation, depending on exactly how you do things, you may have your first hire. It's always a loan partner, by the way.
Always a loan partner. Guys, gals, do not hire a video editor, a social media ad creator, a digital marketing strategist. Always hire the operational person, because although that's what pays the bills, it doesn't produce more fruit. And so Sean is 100% spot on. The first hire is a loan partner to replace the 80%.
And so what you do, you might need a loan partner who's a little more processing brain. You might need a loan partner who's a little more sales brain. You find this out by filling out your divide and conquer of exactly what you need. And like, so we get coached actually, last Friday, Shane, Kellen, and KT and myself, we all met with our coach. And so I'll give you a little snippet of a $5,000 meeting that we just had last week. And one of the things that our coach always advises us on is you build the job profile and then you hire the person. You don't find the person and try to fit them into a mold. That doesn't work. So you need to get really clear on the 80/20. Then you get really clear on your divide and conquer of exactly what you're going to do and everything else that you're going to hand off. So that way, when you're interviewing this person, like, without a doubt, if you need somebody amazing on the phone and you need somebody who can like schmooze some agents a little bit, and you're looking for them to help bring some extra business in the door based upon the conversations they have once they have that client, and they were a loan partner, but they really have a processing brain. Their communication isn't all that great, but they've been doing the job for 10 years and they were awesome. And they, this and that and everything else. And man, they're willing to work for 20 grand less right now. And all of these things, it's not the right fit. There's somebody else out there. I mean, and like Shane said, there has probably never been the talent pool available that we have right now.
Yeah, I think, Sean, that's a really key point. And again, going back to your divide and conquer, everybody's a little bit different. I would caution against going online and comparing to your competitors and what they're doing. Like, if you're, we had a guy once who said, Shane, I'm really good at running credit, and I actually think that that's a good use of my time. And I said, Bob, man, I'm a equal opportunity coach here. Tell me more. Bob said, hey, this is what I do. I work with online leads, and this is how I do this. And when I vet credit, I'm looking for these key indicators. I own a credit repair company, and my job is to turn. I said, Bob, you may not be wrong. Like, as crazy as that is, we found the unicorn where pulling credit is a good use of your time. The reality is you need to understand your value proposition, right? If you're not this like bubbly, outgoing salesperson who's going to be meeting with agents 5 times a week, and you're building online funnels, and that you may have a different 80/20, you still need to hire operationally minded people. And what the mindset was for the last couple of years is hire them with no experience and then train them up. The reality is where you are right now today, we have more opportunities. This is a target rich environment. Fear, negativity is driving real estate agents to seek out confident, organized, competent, well-designed mortgage professionals and companies. And this is your time to shine. You don't have time to train somebody from zero when there are 700 loan partners probably available in your market that could do the job just as well, that already have the experience.
And not cost very much more.
Yeah, and maybe
Today.
not cost more at all. And if they do cost more, it's the time that you don't have to spend solving their problems. And you have to be very honest. And I kind of want to just drop this on everybody. Sometimes you like having inexperienced people because you like feeling needed and important. The reality is the next level community, the reason we're the top mortgage community is because our people scale, grow, and are constantly evolving into the best version of themselves. They're never staying put. They don't have dust on their shoes.
Shane, you mentioned not comparing yourself to others and is a great thing. And we need to start there. You see somebody who's amazing out there. They're putting out these great videos. They're doing all this stuff, but you need your loan partner. Man, I was just sharing this with a group of guys that I work out with in the mornings. I just bought my kids a new book, buying books all the time. So there's a new book that we're reading. It's the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. And the boy and the mole are sitting on a little tree branch. And the boy turns to the mole and he says, "What do you think is the biggest waste of time?" The mole says, "Comparing yourself to others." Where you're at in your business right now is not where anyone else is. They might be close, and there's many people you can model and look after and aspire to be, or be like, man, I was just right there. I can help that person get further, but nobody's at where you are. In order to have the success that you want, like, man, right now, if you're comparing yourself to others, you're looking on Facebook at a whole bunch of people tripping over their lips, feeling sorry for themselves right now.
Yeah, that's a losing proposition. Like, what you should be doing is creating the future you that you want to become, and doing that from a place of honesty, authenticity, humility, and then driving towards that person. Like, if you're overweight and you don't have good discipline in your health, what would you like to become in 60, 90, 120 days? And then compare yourself to that better version of yourself. I think that it's key in our industry that there is no one way to close a loan. We've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm in Seattle. I wear backwards hats and hooded sweatshirts. Sean is in Missouri. Ken is in, we don't even know. Ken lives somewhere off the grid in the middle of nowhere. Kellen's in Dallas, Fort Worth. We have coaching clients in New York, New Jersey. I mean, all over the country. They all do things slightly differently, and they all do extremely well because they build themselves and then compare to their future self. Now, you've got to be really disciplined with this. The little voice on your shoulder is going to tell you need to step in more than you do. You have to be on a couple of rules that you really need to agree to. First and foremost, they're not going to do things as well as you do for you. Now, what you will find is they'll actually do them better than you when you hire the right people and you focus on your zone of excellence. But to start, they may not be as good at you at running credit. They may not do it the way you do it. They may not be as good at doing that 1003 review. They will get there, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. When I became a fireman, I started out in boot camp. I memorized a book, and I would do basic skills for 14 weeks. Then I was actually put on a fire truck, Lord help us. And for the next 10 months, I was following somebody else. I wasn't a full-fledged out on the street fireman for 12 months. So if you're expecting somebody to be perfect day one, you have the wrong expectations. So set proper expectations, understand that they're not going to be you, communicate the expectations to your referral partners and your clients so they understand, but also build your team up. You know, it's amazing. If you have a friend who bad talks their spouse, you know, you're out having coffee or beer with a buddy and he's like, "Oh, my wife is terrible. My wife is terrible. My wife is terrible." Regardless if she is or not. The first time you meet his wife, you instantly see all of the flaws in her because that's what that person has been instilling in your brain. Imagine if you said to your referral partners and your clients, "Sean's my loan partner. Sean's incredible. You know, there's a lot of things I'm good at, but there's many things I'm not. And I hired somebody who was better at all of the things that I'm not great at so that you could get a 10 in every facet of the loan." You're going to find that Sean is excellent at calculating income, reviewing your documents. He has a giant magnifying glass that he loves holding on to all day, looking at your file. In fact, he does this so that you are never getting into contract on a property you can't afford. He will never put your money at risk. Then when that person meets Sean and says, "Hey, it's Sean, I want to get your information," you're excited to work with Sean, right? So I think it's very important to upsell your staff and not expect perfection.
It's important to upsell the staff, and it's important to let your clients and your realtors know that you have a staff. So their expectations are, man, Sean's going to be calling me. He's fantastic. And I can't wait to get that call. As you just think about what Shane said and think about yourself being that client. Think about yourself being that client, first of all, with all those positive things said. Think about them with nothing said. And you're like, who's this person calling me to get my stuff? Or be like, "Oh yeah, man, I got this team in place. There's a whole bunch of things, man. They're just not worth my time. And I don't like doing them. So I hired somebody." Think about the client getting called from that guy. It's obvious what works and what doesn't, and how you can set yourself up for success. You know, one of the great ways, again, that you can set yourself up for success, you can download the notes. You can have the divide and conquer here. you can join Next Level Loan Officers. People over and over again are amazed at what we provide and what we deliver. It's different when you're part of a community with as many like-minded people focused on growth like we have. It's $197 a month, y'all. All you got to do is go to becomenl.com. For $197 a month, you get all of this access. So let's say that you're getting coached by another outside company right now. That's great. You have somebody holding you extremely accountable. You can plug into what we do, and for the cost that you pay for a month or two of coaching, you can add all of this gasoline to the fire. We would love to see you on the other side. We'd love to help you accelerate your career. Shane, it's been an awesome day connecting with you again. Next Level family and friends, we're always here for you. Reach out if you need us.
Thanks, guys. Make it a great week.